give him a chance to think about that, but I'm supposed to return to Shaka now at WBS TV in Kampala. Shaka, over to you. Return to Shaka now. TV, Kampala. Shaka, over to you. Return to Shaka now.
Thank you very much, Esther. And of course, we are back here with my colleague, co-host Peter Kibazo, host of Face Off and Issues at Hand program. You're most welcome.
Thank you, Shaka.
Talk Africa.
Thank you, Shaka.
And now we are joined, of course, by another guest, Dr. Livingstone Sewanyana, Director for Foundation for Human Rights Initiative. Profoundly honored and exceedingly humbled to have the opportunity to host you, Dr. Sewanyana.
Thank you, my brother Shaka Ssali.
How are you?
I'm fine.
Are you ready to vote tomorrow?
Oh, certainly. It's just a matter of hours.
What does it look like? You talked to a lot of people, obviously. Do you feel like this time around we're going to see a lot of people going to vote? Because frankly, the history of the electoral process in this country, one would like to think that it's been generally been pathetic. Because the interest of people really has not been there. There has been political apathy.
I expect a high turnout tomorrow, mainly because of efforts that have been made to address the whole question of voter apathy this time around. For example, we have been running a campaign called Top Power. The campaign is all about telling Ugandans that don't give up despite whatever misgivings you have had. You have a right to determine your destiny. And secondly, candidates on their campaign trail have also been urging their supporters to come out in large numbers and vote. But I think beyond the two, what is most important is the anxiety around this. The mere fact that today we have a hotly contested election. On one hand, the incumbent would like to determine his future and his NRM and the future of the NRM, and therefore all his supporters would like to come out and make a case, as you have heard from Maurice Rakakamba. On the other hand, the opposition are I think more assertive than they have ever been before. There has been this myth for a long time in all our elections that the opposition does not have roots in the rural areas. This time around, I think this has been disproved. If you look at, for example, the rallies for the different candidates, for example, Honorable Mama Mbabazi, or you look at the rallies for Colonel Dr. Chiza Besigye, it was clear that wherever they went, like the case of the incumbent, they actually attracted crowds. And those crowds are not necessarily urban-based. They were also crowds with respect of rallies held in the rural community. So I expect people to really come out in large numbers because there is an issue at hand.
There is a saying that a lot of times in African politics, or in a country like Uganda for that matter, when it comes to election, that people really do not vote for the message. Rather, they vote for the messenger. Is that the same thing that you have been able to see happening around here? Do people in fact vote for personalities as opposed to the issues they advocate?
Definitely, I think I agree with you to a large extent. There has always been that challenge that people, because of prevailing poverty, they tend to succumb to voter bribery and all those things that go with that. But increasingly, there has also been this realization that despite the fact that, yes, you can get those inducements, it's important to vote with your heart. And I can see that all around. I head the Citizens Election Observers Network, a consortium of 18 national human rights and development organizations. And since September, we have been monitoring the exercise. We have deployed 1,250 observers across the country. We have issued 4 reports on the state of the electoral process. And it shows increasingly that people, despite the bribes, whatever, they are going to vote with their heart. They are concerned about the state of affairs. They want to determine their future, the quality of education they can have, the health care that they are entitled to, and certainly there is going to be a big decision that they are going to make. So it's partly true, some people may succumb to the inducements, but I can see this time around an awareness that indeed the decision they make must go beyond the little gifts or inducements they get.
Peter, you have covered the last several elections. There are signs, in fact, indicators that a lot of people have been leaving Kampala, the capital, to go back to their rural areas to go and cast the vote. And in fact, even public transportation, they have hiked the price and what have you. Is this something that normally happens, or is it something unique this time around?
I think it is very unique, particularly this time, but it is informed by the nature of registration of voters that happened. A lot of people that registered for the national identity card registered not as voters particularly, but for the national registration or identity card, which by default also became the national voters card. So that has pushed people partly back to their rural areas. But it is also a passion thing. There's been penetration of the rural areas in Uganda, like Dr. Sewanyana says. For the first time ever, the opposition is traversing not the townships or municipalities that my brother Morrison Wakakamba is talking about. They are reaching the heartbeats of the rural areas, and they are whipping up passion, they're whipping up a lot of love for either candidates. And this is a unique election, Shaka. I've been part of possibly 4 elections in this country that I've covered. All of them, voters receive from candidates. Dr. Kizza Besigye uniquely has run a campaign where he's been receiving from people. Today, I think at a press conference, they said they've received 90 Ugandan million shillings. They've received goats, they've received cows. That's a unique phenomenon in a Ugandan election. And that may speak of the passion of the voter. Whether or not that will actually get them to cast the vote is a different thing.